Welcome to the uni-max workshop. I would like to introduce you to a wood joining technique called pocket holes. This was invented by the company Craig in 1990. There are a lot of companies and brands today that produce jigs for pocket holes. I mostly have jigs from the Triton brand, but also some solutions from other, less known brands, or completely no-name ones. The principle is similar for all. When joining two pieces, a more or less blind hole is drilled at a 15 degrees angle into one of them. However, it is not completely blind, as it continues with a thin hole for the screw shank. The two pieces are placed together in the pocket, a screw is inserted and driven into the other piece. The second piece is not pre-drilled, utilizing the self-tapping capability of the screw. This technique, like everything in the world, has its uncritical supporters and detractors. I actually belong to the third group, so I neither condemn it nor glorify it. I just think that in some cases it is appropriate to use, and I take advantage of it, while in other cases it is not suitable. So I'm taking only the best from it, which is the speed of making the joint, its strength, and in a way its versatility. Its disadvantage, mainly from the critic's perspective, is that you are introducing some steel fasteners into the wooden structure. In cases where the joint is mostly visible, or there are certain marks left behind, it is smart to use it on a non-visible side. It is often used for joining frames, for example. It is quick, clean and efficient. When it is from the back and you don't see anything from the front side. When you screw in the screw, you can then plug the hole with a wooden plug, if necessary, so that the plugs create a kind of color contrast with the base material. There are several joining options. You can either connect it just with screws, which essentially creates a disassemblable joint. You can also apply glue to the edges of the two pieces, tighten them with screws, and then remove the screws after the glue dries. This way, you would address the biggest critics who complain about the screws remaining in place. However, the holes will still be there, and you will need to fill them in some way. Or it is a combination of both methods, meaning you glue and screw, and you simply leave the screws in as a safety and strength element. If you have no experience with these joints at all, I would really recommend a simple jig, perhaps for a few hundred crowns. And only when it proves effective for you, consider purchasing a more complex jig, which can cost several thousand crowns. I would divide the jigs into mobile and stationary. The mobile ones are usually small, and you can basically place them anywhere. They are handy, you can get them almost anywhere, but they are not suitable for larger series of holes. And then there are the benchtop ones, which you attach to your workbench, insert the material into, and drill. These are particularly handy if you're making a larger number of holes, especially in pieces of the same size. For such small-scale production, they are definitely worth it. I would recommend first getting the cheaper, smaller jig, and only if this method proves effective for you, then consider investing in a more expensive table-mounted one. You will still have the portable one, which you can advantageously use in situations where the table-mounted one cannot be used. For example, recently I needed to attach a board or plank between two ceiling beams, and I couldn't drill up into the ceiling. I actually needed to screw it into the side of those beams. And there, the simplest jig for pocket holes came in handy, and it was the perfect solution. I almost forgot, there are also various modifications where one manufacturer makes the holes not for a 9.5 mm diameter drill bit, but for 6, 8 and 10 mm diameter drill bits. I think that this particular jig could be advantageously used so that the hole is drilled all the way through into the opposite piece. And instead of a steel fastener, you can actually hammer in a dowel, whether it's 6, 8 or 10, which is also quite an interesting solution. And then there's another jig that essentially straddles between mobile and benchtop, because you can remove the drilling sleeve and even adjust it to different angles, so you don't have to drill only at a 15 degrees angle. Included with all pocket hole jigs from the Triton brand is a starter set of accessories, which includes a special 9.5 mm diameter drill bit with a tapered tip and a collar that serves as a depth stop, a special long bit, a set of screws, and also wooden plugs. At first glance, those screws seem a bit special, but they are actually quite ordinary. They only have a self-tapping tip, and they have a flat head on the bottom because a countersunk head could split the material. On top, they have a Robertson drive, which means an internal square, but that's only because it's common in America. You can easily replace these screws with another alternative that is closer, more accessible, or preferable to you, such as a Phillips drive or a Torx drive, and the head diameter should not be larger than 9 mm. The length is also important, which is chosen based on the thickness of the material you are pre-drilling into, as well as the thickness or width of the opposing piece, to ensure that the screw does not go all the way through. If you are going to make more holes in a larger series, it is definitely worth having two cordless screwdrivers. one with higher speeds for drilling and the other with lower speeds for screwing. You can find links to all the products featured in the video in the description below. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you again in the uni-max workshop.